皆さん、おはようございます。日本語の教室のセンです。またよろしくお願いします。今日は第7回の教室です。第7回、第7回、第1回、第2回、第3回、第4回、第5回、第6回、第7回。今日は第7回の教室なんですね。1回目、2回目、3回目、4回目、5回目、6回目、7回目。One thing that occurred to me this morning, as I am not a native speaker of Japanese, is that daichi, daini, etc. Is the more formal way to say the first time, second time, third time. The reason being is that daichi, daini, daisan is a more sinified Japanese, whereas ikkaime, nikkaime, kaime would be the more Japanese way to say the numbers. So one more little concept to bear in mind. Chinese styles are often more formal than Japanese styles. じゃあ今日は何の話題だと思いますか？今日は何の話をするでしょうか？何の話をするでしょうか？話、話、話。何の話、何の話、何の話。何の話をするでしょう。するでしょう。するでしょう。何の話をするでしょうか？何の話をするでしょうか？ か being the question. 何の話をするのか？話 means talk. 何の話 what talk. 何の話をするのか？する。する。でしょうか？でしょうか？でしょう is like a probability. What do you think? My question is, what do you think we're going to talk about today? Or yeah. No. What is the talk for today? What are we going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? The subject is stated, which is very convenient. It allows you to fill in for yourself. 今日は何の話をするのか、するでしょうか。Okay, etc. もともと私は色に関する話をしようと思いました。したかった。私はもともと今日は色に関する話をしたかった。色の関する話をしたかった。したかった。So, したかった is another form of the verb する. する means to do. It's probably the most common verb as it's used in combination with nouns to form verbs. So it's very common to tag a noun, to tag suru onto a noun in order to form a verb, especially with native Chinese words. The most famous being 勉強する. 勉強する. 勉強する means to study. And we will be using this term throughout the course. 勉強しましょう。日本語の教室の勉強をしましょう。勉強しましょう。You all have your notebooks handy? You're writing all of this down? Are you keeping up with me? I hope so. If you have trouble keeping up with me, write a comment in the box. Of course, I don't have an avid following at this point, but hopefully one day I will. 日本語の教室、これで日本語の勉強をする。勉強をする or 勉強する. Since it's forming a noun, I don't need the O. And the O, of course, as I told you during our hiragana studies, is used to form the object. 勉強をする. So that's the object of the suru. But we're forming a suru verb, so the O is not necessary. 勉強する. 日本語の勉強する. Okay. 今日は色の勉強をしたかった。する、したかった。したい。したい, I want to. It's the informal. したいと思いました。したいと思いました. That's the more common, the more polite way to say it. But I am talking to you. I'm being palsy-walsy with you guys. So I say, 今日は色に関する話をしたかったんですね。じゃあ、色は何でしょうか？色は何でしょうか？これじゃないか？色。一つの色、二つの色、三つの色、四つの色、五つの色、六つの色。じゃあ、計は6つの色はここに表しています。are shown, 表しています。Of course, that's a high level of Japanese. We're all beginners, but I'm going to be talking to you in Japanese. So hopefully you'll get your ear accustomed, and what you don't understand, I don't consider it important. That's why I'm not explaining it. Okay. とにかく、6つの色があります。1、2、3、4、6。Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's early in the morning, by the way. 今は朝の6時40分です。6時40分。7時20分前。7時20分前。ところで、これは何でしょうか？これは何でしょうか？覚えてますか？ Do you remember what this is in Japanese? We had that brief picture of the classroom. 時計。これは時計です。時計です。Okay. And この時計の色は何ですか？この時計の色は何ですか？色。この時計の色はオレンジ。オレンジ。これはオレンジ色。これはオレンジ色。時計の色はオレンジ色です。色。And how do you spell 色？ I-R-O. 色。I'm not going to put the hiragana on there today. You'll have to run to your hiragana chart and find the hiragana for ro and learn it. 色。Some of you may already know it. That would be wonderful. いろいろな話をします。今日はいろいろな話をします。色 is repeated twice, and a na is added. いろいろな。That means a variety of. So you can kind of see the origins of that word. The word is いろいろな. So add that one to your list as well. It means a variety. 今日はいろいろな話をします。We're going to talk about a variety of subjects. We're going to have hanashi, we're going いろいろな話をします。I'm going to make various talks, literally. Anyway, okay. じゃあ今日は 色の話なんですね。色に関する教室です。色に関する教室です。今日の教室は色に関する教室です。色の話をします。今日は色の話をします。6つの色があります。We have 6 colors. These are the primary colors. And I will go over their names. We've already learned 2 of them. Well, we just learned orange, 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 orange. And of course, that is written in katakana. Katakana, because it is a word that comes from English. Orange. I was going to get a picture of a mikan. A mikan is a, let's see, what do we call them? Tangerine, right? Yeah. A mikan is a small type of orange that you can very easily peel with your hands. You don't need a knife to peel it. There's various, sometimes early in the season, the peeling is a little difficult to remove. It sticks very tightly to the fruit inside. But later in the season, the peeling almost falls off. And I find that of all fruits, the mikan, or the tangerine, mikan are so widespread in Japan. The mountains are covered both with tea and with mikan trees. Mikan, and it's seasonal. It has a long season, and the fruits are almost always sweet. Every now and then you'll get a bad fruit, an old fruit, a dry fruit. Sometimes they're dry. But the traditional native to Japan fruit is the mikan. Oranges were imported. That's hence the English name, and hence the transition to Japanese. Now there is another color for orange. It's called momoiro. Momoiro, peach color. Now I tend to think of a peach color as being more of a pinkish color, but I believe now the one thing you're going to find is that the Japanese concept of color, or the names for colors, you know, if you made a Venn diagram, you have 2. This is orange, and this is what did I just say? Pink. You might have an area where they diverge. They have an area in the middle, the biggest area actually, where they're the same. But on the periphery, you have little Japan-only areas and English-only areas. So momoiro would be one of those, momoiro, where in Japanese it might refer specifically to orange, whereas in English, if I talk about a peach color, I'm not really talking about an orange color. Momo. Momo is peach, mikan is the tangerine. So now you know 2 fruit names. So if you're doing your Excel sheet, or you know what, it might even be better to have a notebook with a whole page dedicated to fruits, a whole page dedicated to vegetables, a whole page dedicated to animals. We're going to come up with a variety of categories. So we have momo and we have mikan. And we can have a page dedicated to colors as well. We have oranjiro, oranjiro, oranjiro. And of course, the first color we learned was over here. And we studied this one because it has 2 vowels in it. Ao, 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 aoiro. And it can be, you can put iro on the end of any of these. Murasaki does not get iro put onto it very often. This is murasaki. So we have ao and we have aka. Aka. Remember aka. And hopefully you can write these in hiragana by now. So we have orange, aka, murasaki, murasaki, ao, midori, midori, midori. I think midori. I said midori. That's my English speaking origins creeping in. Midori, midori. これは緑なんです。緑色、緑色。Okay? これは黄色、黄色。Now, iro is always attached to this word, kiro, kiro. So it has, if you spelled it in Romaji, it would have K-I-I-R-O, because the ki, which is actually the Chinese pronunciation of yellow, and then iro. So ki, iro, ki, iro. When you crunch it together, it becomes kiro, kiro. So it has a long I. If you wrote that in hiragana, you'd use the hiragana for ki, and then the hiragana for I, and the hiragana for ro. So in English, or in Latin characters, in Romaji, it looks rather ridiculous to have those two I's together. Typographically, it doesn't look good. Of course, there's the line to go over the I's. But how much more convenient is hiragana? This is why I teach you hiragana from the outset. Okay. So, 今日は色の勉強します。今日は色の勉強します。今日は色の勉強します。今日は色の勉強します。Okay? オレンジ、赤、紫、青、緑、黄色、黄色。Okay, so today we're going to learn about colors. And just for the fun of it, I decided to introduce this kanji. It's certainly not one that you need to learn at this point. But nonetheless, the more you take a look at things, the more you start to understand it. So, my question to you is, how many strokes does this kanji have? Do you think you could count them? I see, let's see, that's right. Okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I don't think I did it in the correct stroke order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this one is probably written last. The reason this one is written last is it's kind of closing off the whole thing. It's the bottom stroke. Even though it starts out up here, it's still the bottom stroke. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And to be honest with you, I do not write kanji that often. In fact, I don't write Japanese that often anymore. I used to write it quite a bit, but if you don't use it, you lose it, as the American expression has it. Okay, so once again, in stroke order, there it is. Okay, so it starts out here, comes down here like that, okay, and then, I can't, that's hard to, there it is, okay, and then this second stroke, and you can see how in the print font they tried to indicate that little bulge that's created by the brush right here. Okay, so 1, 2, and then 3. There may be a hook. The hook doesn't always appear, but generally in this stroke, there's only, all the strokes in the language are represented by this one kanji. This one kanji, which means forever. And all the stroke styles in Japanese are represented in this one kanji. This one, which I've written really poorly, is written like this one. It's a brush. this is all filled in. This little straggly thing down here is not. Yeah, anyway, this means, so there's the dot there, the dot right here, and then this one here is here like that with a hook on it. Then this one is often seen, the straight line, and then this thing that they call a na. I think I can't remember if na is Chinese or Japanese. Anyway, the brush kind of gets dragged so that this kind of form gets magically created. And the ability to do this beautiful is a difference between a weak writer of kanji and a strong writer. I don't see that appearing anywhere on this page. Anyway, those are the basic strokes. I don't know if I can get rid of this handwriting. I don't think I can. Then this stroke comes next. Whoops. Aha. Ah! Okay, now we got this stroke. Oh, this stroke comes next, then this stroke, and finally this stroke. So here we have the, I think that I'm going to try to erase all of those. Can I do that? Pen eraser, yeah, okay. Hopefully we can erase this. It's going to take me a little time. While I'm erasing everything, we can say iro. Iro. This is the kanji for iro. Okay, and I'm going to actually back up a little bit so that we can have everything magically and seamlessly appear. Okay, いろいろ書いたものを消す。これは消しゴムです。これは消しゴム。消しゴム。An eraser. 消しゴム. So, teaching students, I teach them keshigomu. The Japanese love their keshigomu. Japan has the best keshigomu in the world. Okay, now back to their beautiful presentation. I said that iro can be doubled to be iro iro na. Iro iro na, which means a variety. 今日はいろいろな話します。今日はいろいろな話します。Once again, I could say 話します or 話をします。Since you don't need to put that O in there because it takes a noun, which is hanashi. A hanashi can be a story, it can be a talk, and it's a noun, but it's very closely related to the verb hanasu. So hopefully you're starting a verb list too. I'm going to be throwing verbs out. As I throw them out, write them down, try to remember them. Hanasu, ha-na-su, ha-na-su, H-A-N-A-S-U, hanasu. Hanashi is S-H-I, and of course both have only 3 hiragana, and both are written with a kanji element and a hiragana element combined so that we can distinguish hanashi from hanasu. That's a story for later on, because right now we're talking about iro, and we're talking about iro iro na hanashi o shimasu. Now look at this funny little stroke here, this funny little thing here. Oh, I like that as a pointer. Okay, that is like the English quotation mark. It stands in the place of iro, rather than write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You only write 1, 2, 3. And this is a word that stands instead of another one, only at the character level. At the word level, there is no, not the word level. This is at the kanji level. At the hiragana level, there's a different character to represent repetition. Isuzu is an interesting one. Isuzu is the brand. They used to have passenger cars. They don't make passenger cars anymore. They make okay. There. They make trucks. 49% of their stock is owned by General Motors. Okay, at least that, I'm out of date in the auto industry, but okay, いろいろな話します。日本語と関係ない話もします。日本語と関係ない話もします。I also talk about things that aren't related to Japanese. Although everything I talk about is related to Japan in one way or the other, even if it's related to me. Okay, いろいろな話をします。Okay, once again, the colors. Starting out with ao. I've written the colors in Romaji today, just because I think you need to see Romaji as well as the hiragana and the kanji. All of the colors are typically written in kanji. We don't need to learn the kanji for the colors at this point. So, ao, ao. If you want to write it in hiragana, all the more power to you. But I just want to give you license to write anything you want to in Romaji because it hits the eye so much better than the other ones, as I've said several times already. Akka, kiro, kiro, midori, midori, midori. Midori, I did a little bit of research on the colors before starting this lesson, and I found that the word midori came into use around the 11th or 12th centuries. So that's fairly late as far as languages is concerned. Midori originally referred to young shoots of things in Japan. It has what is known as a silk radical. A lot of the colors have silk radicals. It could have been a cloth dye. The word, of course, originated in China, and as far as I know, the word has always been green in China. However, once again, I'm talking about that Venn diagram where you have two circles. There is a little area where there's a hazy area, especially between green and blue. The word for blue is often used to represent green in Japanese. So somebody who's inexperienced and new at something, in English, we say he's wet behind the ears. That may be an entirely American expression. Somebody that swam across the Rio Grande River to enter the United States illegally. The Rio Grande separates Texas and Mexico. So I don't know if that came from that wet behind the ears. Somebody who's a greenhorn is another one, greenhorn, because animals, when their horns come in, at first they have a greenish color, or he's green. Of course, green can also mean pale. Anyway, but in Japanese, these expressions is used by ao. Somebody who's inexperienced is ao, and I don't remember how to use that. I've never used it myself, but in my research I came across that. But the one that's most famous is in Japan. It's not a green light, it's a blue light. The color is the same, the perception is different. I did read something, I think it was in Wikipedia, how there's an international standard for the spectrum that lights, traffic lights, have to respect, and the Japanese did tend towards the blue end of the spectrum, but they're within the green spectrum. And you might have a variety of colors of lights in Japan. I've seen photographs on the internet that make them look blue, but those may have been doctored. With a filter, you can do so much to photograph. I think photographs are the biggest liars of all. Okay, another digression. Ao, ao, midori. Aoi shingo, shingo, shingo. Shingo is the word for signal. It's used in computer technology, in electronics industry. So just like signal is used for both a traffic signal and whatnot, any type of signal. flag signals. I gave him a signal to continue. In Japanese, that's shingo, shingo. And it sounds somewhat like signal. It's two kanji put together. It's also used in China. I don't think it really comes from signal, but I don't know. And in fact, in Chinese, it would be pronounced xinhao, xinhao. And a xin, anyway. We'll say that it's not related to English. It's just coincidental. Aoi shingo, akai shingo, kiroi shingo, shingo, aoi shingo, akai shingo. Of course, kiro, aka, and ao are the three primary colors. And midori is a mixture of blue and yellow. So the three primary colors are all adjectives. For midori to modify a noun, it has to take a no. Midori no shingo. I don't think you say midori shingo. Maybe you can. Midori no shingo. Midori akai shingo. Another one for the investigation. 先生は日本語を話すと、いろいろな変な間違いがするんですね。私は外人です。日本人ではなくて外人です。外人 is a foreigner. So if you are Indian studying this, you and I are both gaijin. Gaijin means foreigners. So I'm going to have a lot of strange Japanese. So you go any higher than this level and you want to find a native Japanese speaker. Okay, murasaki and orange. Okay, and to wrap this show up, I have a little trick. I'm learning animation. We take the E adjectives. We said that aka is an E adjective. So if you want to, another thing for aka is aka-chan. Aka-chan. An aka-chan is a baby. So aka is used to represent a baby. When babies are first born, they're very red. So really, more than baby, it's an infant. Aka-chan. Aka-chan. Chan is the endearing form of san. Children are often called chan. Girls are called chan later in life than boys. At some point in life, boys graduate to kun. Boys graduate to kun, but girls remain chan a little bit longer than boys. Aka-chan. Anything that you want to, sometimes animals are referred to as chan. Okay, so the use of these honorifics is a fascinating study. And even the Japanese will disagree on how the honorifics are used. And it could be regional. Aka-chan. Akai. Akai. Nani? Akai. Akai. これは赤い色です。赤い色。赤い色。これは赤色。But この缶は赤い缶です。これは赤い缶。赤いペン。赤いペン。赤いペン。黄色いペン。Okay. 青いペン。黄色いペン. All these are E adjectives. There's two quote-unquote colors that we haven't mentioned. Kuro and shiro. These are also E adjectives. Kuroi, kuroi, shiroi. And kuro is black and shiro is white. I had originally animated these to be their colors, their own color, but anyway. Needless sideline. Okay, so we have the E adjectives, aka, ao, kiro, kuro, and shiro. And then we have what I've called the no adjectives. They're not specifically adjectives, but they do. So if I say Nihongo no kyosutsu, that turns Nihongo into a adjective. So nouns have several ways to join to other nouns. This being the most common way of putting no between them. You could also join them directly. I could call this Nihongo kyosutsu. And that way the whole thing becomes a real set name, Nihongo Kyosu. So you can have long strings of kanji in particular. And this is a characteristic that the Japanese have borrowed from the Chinese. My mind was flying. I was thinking of Tokyo Daigaku. Tokyo Daigaku is the University of Tokyo. And that's abbreviated Todai. Tokyo Daigaku is abbreviated Todai. I'm giving you so much advanced information in this beginning Japanese class. So these three colors, I didn't speed them up. I'm learning are no adjectives. Midori no, midori iro no, midori no, midori iro no. Midori ni wa temoto ni wa nai desu kara, midori no happa, midori no ki, a green tree, midori no kusa, a green grass. Okay, midori. Orange iro. これはオレンジ時計。オレンジ時計。オレンジの時計。オレンジな時計。We also have na adjectives. But anyway, okay. Enough of that, huh? Colors. Reviewing what we did last time, remember on one of the slides I had a mistake, so I just decided to show this whole thing to you. Aisatsu. Ohayo gozaimasu, ohayo gozaimasu, ohayo gozaimasu. Konnichiwa, 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 konnichiwa. Konbanwa, konbanwa. Nice to see you. Konbanwa. Maido. 楽しいことなんですね。こんばんは。お久しぶりです。お久しぶりです。It's been a long time since we've met. こんばんは。お久しぶりですね。お久しぶりですね。お久しぶり。Kind of an Aisatsu of its own. Okay, and then of course these guys are saying sayonara, sayonara, sayonara. And the last time the mother was saying sayonara to her child, now she's saying oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai. Nasai is a suffix that's put on the word to turn it into a command. Take rest. Yasumi is rest. To take a break, yasumi. It's an honorific is put onto it, oyasumi nasai. But we don't think of it as at that level normally. We just say, oyasumi nasai, ja ne, oyasumi nasai, sayonara, oyasumi nasai, mata ashita aimashou, etc. So those are the aisatsu. More aisatsu were what? We had hajimemashite. When you're meeting for the first time, you say hajimemashite, hajimemashite. And of course, we had the two businessmen exchanging business cards. We have dozo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Dozo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Dozo yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Okay, yoroshiku. And yoroshiku is an e adjective, yoroshi, and it's a keigo, which means yoi, which is good, which at the everyday level in the positive is simply pronounced e. これはいいものですね。いい。But then if we put a ku on it, yoku, 私をよく面倒見てください。面倒見てくれるとか、よく。But this is a higher level, よろしく。And then お願い means please, please, please. I am asking you, I'm begging you to be nice to me. But once again, we don't think of it as at this level. It's just, you'll hear this all the time. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. There are varieties. Yoroshiku tanomu ne. Yoroshiku tanomu ne. Yoroshii deshou ka? Onegai. You just hear onegai, onegai. Okay. So you'll hear the little subtleties as we go along. And what is this? Arigato. I had forgotten the u. No. Was it arigato? No. Yeah, I had forgotten the u. Arigato gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu. Arigato. So if you were writing this in Romaji, you'd have the macron over the o. To. This is the same way that Tokyo is written. Tokyo. Although Tokyo is normally written in kanji. But if you were to put furigana, remember furigana? We'll be getting to furigana very quickly. You would write it like this. Thank you. Okay. And what is this? Does anybody remember? Don't touch my mustache. Don't touch my mustache. Do itashimashite. Do itashimashite. Do itashimashite. Okay. We talked about, last time, we talked about this. What is this? This is Nihon no Kokki. Nihon no Kokki. Nihon no Kokki. So Kokki means national flag. Kore wa Nihon no Kokki desu. Kore wa. And another name for the Japanese flag is Hinomaru. Hinomaru. So I mentioned Hinomaru Bento either last time or the time before. I told you that I would introduce you to the Hinomaru Bento. This is the Hinomaru Bento. A bento is a lunchbox. And if you go to the internet, put in bento, you don't need to put the macron on there, you will have thousands of images of bento. You will learn a big aspect of Japanese culture. When you go to the railway station, you can purchase a bento. Very fancy bentos, very expensive bentos, or very cheap ones. Of course, just like Indians have their tiffins, the Japanese also have their little lunch boxes, often in metal, nowadays in plastic, about this size here. This is an obento, Hinomaru Bento, but when it's bento appears alone, it's usually an honorific is placed before it. Hinomaru Obento. Obento. これはお弁当なんですね。このお弁当は白ご飯ですね。白ご飯。白ご飯。これも白いですね。これは白いですね。その日本の国旗は白いですね。白くて赤ですね。白と赤。白い旗。赤い旗。この旗は白と赤。このご飯は白いです。このご飯は白いです。So you can't say このご飯は白です because that means it's the exact same thing as white. This rice is white. In English that's fine, but in Japanese you have to say this has a white attribute to it. So you have to say このご飯は白いです。Most gohan is shiroi. これはご飯です。ご飯. Go is once again a honorific. The han is a Chinese word, pronounced fan in Chinese, gohan. And it's cooked rice only. Uncooked rice is kome, okome, kome, gohan. And this is a plum. It's called a plum. American plums are large and sweet. Japanese plums are small and bitter. In order to eat the plum, you really have to pickle it. So a plum is called an ume. 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 And then this is called an umeboshi. I don't know, umeboshi. Boshi comes from hoshi, to dry, umeboshi. So the plum is dried and then soaked in some type of material. It still has quite a sour taste. It's kind of like Indian pickles in a way. So back in the day, when Japan was a poor country, this was all that a poor man would have for lunch. It's still a very popular lunch. It's a light lunch, and the umeboshi is nice when it's mixed with the rice. It's not quite so sharp when you mix it with rice. それからこれは箸です。箸です。And I'm not sure, a few slides from now, I think I'm going to talk about hashi. Anyway, so we have gohan. Once again, just so that you can see it, write it down. The hyphen is there just for your convenience. You don't need to include the hyphen. Umeboshi, umeboshi, and hashi. So this is a Hinomaru Bento, made to look like a Japanese flag. So must be some mother somewhere got very creative for her child. She had nothing, so she wanted her child to be proud of his very poor lunch and said, hey, this lunch is the Japanese flag. It's a very popular bento, and you can find them at all of the bento shops. Hinomaru Bento. Aha! Okay, I said hashi. So this hashi can also mean bridge, but they have different pitches. Oh, I meant to animate this. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we say nihon, nihon. So nihon. So that's the high, the low pitch, high pitch, and low pitch. The ni is low pitch, ho is high pitch, nihon, 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 nihon. This is going from high to low, nihon. I think I may have already introduced this. Pen o nihon mottemasu. Pen o nihon mottemasu. Pen o nihon. Nihon no pen o nihon, nihon, nihon no nihon pen. これは日本のペン。これは日本のペン。日本のペン。日本のペン。日本のペン。日本。日本。So this is 1、2、2本。ペンを2本持ってます。Almost every noun has to have a counter. And we've already learned hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu. So I could say futatsu no pen omottemasu. But hon is such a common measure word that it's always attached to pens and to cans and to bottles of beer. Biro 2本ください。もう2本ください。もう3本ください。1本。ビール1本ください。ビール1本ください。Japanese beers are quite big. So normally 1本 is more than enough for a single person. I might say 小さいビールがあります。小さい瓶がありますか？ビールの小さい瓶。The noun for a bottle is a bean, but the measure word is hon. 1本、2本、3本. So, same with hashi. Hashi is bridge. Hashi is chopsticks. Now, these aren't going to get confused if you mispronounce them. Because if I have some hashi in my hands, you know that I'm not talking about a bridge. But it's just interesting to note that they're synonyms, or homonyms. They're homonyms, but not exactly. They're tonally different. Okay. So Chinese is famous as being a tonal language. Japan has a few cases. All sentences and all words have pitch to them. And if you look in some dictionaries, in the more high-class dictionaries, you'll see the pitch marks listed. I know that in a lot of beginning textbooks, they used to list the pitch marks. I always found it confusing as a beginning Japanese student. Okay. Same with kami. Kami, kami. これは kami. これは kami です。kami です。kami です。See, I probably say this wrong. これは kami. kami. これは kami. And kami, the measure word for kami is mai. 1枚、2枚、3枚、4枚。ちょっと紙2枚くださいませんか？紙2枚くださいませんか？ Could you spare 2 sheets of paper? See, in English we use the sheet for paper. We say that paper is a non-count word. It can't be counted. So you have to say, same with coffee. Coffee is nondescript until you put it into a cup. Then it becomes a cup of coffee. So, kami no imai desu ne. Kami. We had during World War II the kamikaze. The fighter pilots who crashed their planes, they committed suicide for the country. Kamikaze. Kami. And in India, you have a variety of kami. I've bowed to the English tradition of using a lowercase g. The uppercase g is only used for that one, whatever you want to call it. It's not Brahman, it's not Atma, it's that beyond Brahman, beyond Atma. So we talk about gods. And Japan also has a tradition of gods. And when you go, this is the Shinto religion in Japan. It's more the religion of local gods. They say it's animism because they see everything as being an animate object. The stones, etc., are worthy of worship because a god lives inside. Okay? They go to a shrine, which is called a JINJA. JINJA. We have a differentiation between shrine and temple. Temple is OTERA. OTERA. That's a Buddhist temple, OTERA. A Shinto shrine is a JINJA. You go to the JINJA, you clap your hands twice to call out the god. Okay. I think we only have 15 more minutes. Once again, I barely got forward, but I think this is effective. Hopefully, it's effective for you. We have some more that are pronounced differently. And then the one that I wanted to emphasize here is ame. Now, I don't think of these when I don't know the difference in pitch. I mean, when I'm talking, I'm sitting before some salmon, I say, これは sake desu. Sake desu. Sake kudasai. Sake kudasai. It's often called nihonshu, as I said before. Okay. So, just so you know, there is word pitch in Japanese. Okay. And the web pages that I got my information from are these. There was a woman's web page that I got a lot of information on color I meant to reference because she was good. Anyway. Okay. Now, to wrap up the class, I'm going to spend some time over this sentence. I got this directly from Wikipedia, and it's talking about the Japanese flag, and legally it says the Japanese flag is called the Nishoki. Nishoki. I just didn't know this until I looked at Wikipedia. Nishoki. I don't know what this sho means. So I have to go back to someplace and look up this sho. But anyway, but the reason I posted this is I wanted you to see that in the Wikipedia article, they actually cited the Japanese in the English article. Oh, no, this was in the Japanese article. I'm sorry. The Japanese Wikipedia article, for the sake of the Japanese, they put Nishoki. And they put Nippon no Koki and Nihon no Koki. They wanted to show that this Japanese flag has two names depending on how you pronounced Nippon. or Nihon. This was an article that is edited by somebody Japanese, so this is how they saw fit to do it. Okay, they wanted to stress that this could be pronounced in two different ways. In the Japanese article in Wikipedia, they did not have this furigana. This is something that I added. I just wanted to show you how furigana is used. So this is horitsu. Horitsu. Horitsu means law. Horitsu. And then we've learned the character for ue, and this is pronounced jo. So this is the onyomi, the Chinese reading. Horitsu jo. So this is law. Horitsu is law. Horitsu jo means legally. So this jo is used in a grammatical way. This is to change the function of this into adverb, okay, legally. So the flag of Japan is legally called, this is called, so the verb goes at the very end of the sentence. Now this is one sentence and this is another sentence. Normally a sentence is ended with a maru. This here is a maru. Okay? So the end of a sentence is indicated by a maru. The Japanese comma, this is just an ordinary comma. This is a comma because the voice has paused. And this is a comma separating two phrases. So this is a verb stem. So they've used a verb stem to end the sentence because they wanted to combine it with another sentence and make it into a compound sentence. I'm talking about a rather advanced concept, but I think that by the end, normally this is a one-semester course. I want my students to be able to look at Japanese text by the end of the second semester, because at my university, they only take one semester of Japanese. So I'm making a 30-hour course right now, and it's intended to be like a university course. When I have students sitting in the room, I'm able to be more casual with them. I try to be casual in this class, but we don't move very quickly forward, and I know that you guys are eager to know Japanese. Once again, there are so many internet sources out there. Okay. Nippon no koki, horitsu jo. Okay, so this is what the flag is officially called. To is a particle that refers to anything that is spoken. And I know that in Sanskrit, there's the word iti. I don't know, Hindi probably has something too. So your languages make this to easy to understand. For an English speaker, it's like, why? Is this really necessary? Of course, after a while it becomes a habit, and you say to yourself, of course it's necessary. Okay, to. It just informs you that, and also you could say yobareru, you could say you, which we've already learned. You means to say or to be called. Yobareru is a better way to say to be called. There's hanasu. Anyway, there's various ways to refer to speaking. Okay, and then once again, you know this one already. Nihon de. Nihon de wa. In Japan. This is a locative. De can be the locative or it can be the instrumental. In this case, it's the locative. In Japan, furuku kara, since old times, ippan-teki ni hinomaru, hinomaru to yobareru hata de aru. So this is, I told you, koki in kunyomi is hata. So this hata is all by itself right here. So we know automatically, since it's all by itself, that it's going to be a Japanese everyday word. Hata is an everyday word. that doesn't even need to be written in kanji. But look how the kanji kind of pops off the page, and it serves to isolate other elements of the sentence. So that this wa becomes very, emphasized just due to the fact that the kanji is there. And we see, so yoyabare. Then we have a comma to break it down. And right here we have nihon, and then we have dewa, which is a little bit different than, because we have another grammatical particle here. And then kara is from old times. This stays in the native Japanese. Furuku kara, the ku makes the furi, which is add this to your e adjective list right now. Furi. Furi means old. Atarashi. Atarashi. Atarashi means new. Furi to atarashi. But then the ku, the e in the furi is dropped, and a ku is added, making it into an adverb. So you can see how Japanese adjectives are conjugated. Ippanteki is a set of three kanji, which mean generally, ordinarily, very commonly used. And it's often called Hinomaru. Hinomaru. Okay. And it's a flag which is called yobareru. This slide may reappear when we get more advanced in our grammar. The main point for showing you this slide is to show you the combination of kanji, hiragana, no katakana in this slide. But you guess if we put furagu, for example, or rigari, or Japan, or something. I mean, the Japanese liberally use English, and they're becoming better and better at English. In the past, it just showed that they know some English and was a status symbol. Okay, so we're going to start the next class here, talking about a sentence pattern that you already know by now, hopefully. Kore wa mouse desu. Kore wa hon desu. Kore wa hon desu. Kore mo hon desu. And now I'm showing off. You can see what a scholar I am. These happen to be in front of me. I have the whole volume of the original Mahabharata, which was translated in 1895, and it's, I think, 12 volumes. So this is only a portion of the Mahabharata. Okay, in English. It's lovely. Okay, じゃあ、また次回会いましょう。またね。またね。じゃあ、またね。Bye bye. Bye bye is also often used in Japan. So I can say bye bye. じゃあね。Bye bye. Bye bye bye. Hi. Next time I'll tell you a story about this. One of my favorite stories. I have many favorites, but anyway. Sayonara. Sayonara.